For those who come to pay respects to the dead, even as they fear for their own souls. Is the curse still gripping Armero? I'm sending a film crew to one of the most terrifying places on Earth to find out. Across every ocean.
It is not too secure, too safe to get there.
Lurking deep within the darkness, evil forces are preying upon the living.
Exorcisms are on the rise in Mexico.
I am sending a camera crew across the globe to document these events. I am Zach Bagans, and this is Destinations of the Damned. My crew arrives in Bogota and prepares for the 5-hour drive to the ghost town of Armero. But before they leave on the treacherous drive through the mountains of Western Colombia, my producers learn of a survivor of the Armero tragedy, now living in Bogota. She experienced that horrific night when she was only 13 years old and has agreed to recount her experiences of Armero, both the town she once knew and the nightmare it became. What does witnessing such horrors do to a child so young? And what can she tell my team to help them on their journey?
There was an eruption and my sister froze. And my dad put his shoes on her and grabbed her tight. He opened the door, and that was at that moment. It was an auditory terror, because at that moment there was no light. That is, the light had gone out in the town. So there were many people running, trying to save themselves.
A neighbor let Maria, her sister, and her father into his truck, rushing ahead of the streets flooding with mud.
We had to drive over the heads of neighbors, friends, acquaintances. But then we had to save ourselves. In other words, I say that if the apocalypse exists, we have already lived it.
The three of them survived the night, abandoning the truck at one point to climb up the side of the mountain, where they could only watch in horror as the city itself collapsed under the weight of rushing sludge and filth.
One of the rescuers in the helicopter saw a woman, and he could see that she was injured because through the mud you could see blood, but she wouldn't let go, and she was going like this the whole time. Then they forced her arms open, and when she unclenched her hands, what she was holding was her baby's little hand.
Before they depart, Maria leaves my crew with a warning about Armero.
Be very careful because there are a lot of scorpions, there are many snakes, there is this golden African snail. Watch out, be very careful with that, with the plagues, with all that. There are thieves. There are many thieves.
I have to wonder what thieves she's talking about. There's nothing left in Armero but ruins and the dead. But as we soon find out, the thieves are those that feed the curse of Armero. With Maria's words still echoing in their ears, my crew has no time to waste. The local production team has warned them not to be on the mountain roads after dark, and the light is fading fast.
Well, how's our schedule?
We need to get there before it gets dark. We kind of go into the roads when it's dark.
Are we in danger of coming across other people?
It's not too secure, too safe to get there.
Armed groups have been known to set up roadblocks in Colombia's rural areas, and my crew faces the threat of kidnapping and violence if they're caught on these mountain roads at night. Their concerns are intensified when one of the vans starts having mechanical issues.
What were they just telling you?
He was telling me to check how was the car, because...
Are we having any problems?
No, the car continues good, so I think we're fine. We're gonna get there.
Despite these reassurances from the local production team, the van breaks down and the sun continues to set in an unfamiliar country, not even halfway to their intended destination. A replacement vehicle's called in, and they get back on the road now very delayed. But the drive is plagued by a second van breaking down. Our local crew tells us that this has never happened to them before.
It's been 2 times. I don't really know if it's the spirits of the place that are, like breaking our vehicles or what's happening. We've worked with this provider many times and cars doesn't break, but we're here and cars are breaking up.
It really is as if something here does not want us to document Armero and its thousands of dead. A local medium believes the now sacred grounds of Armero may also be home to demonic entities, brought there by the curse that may be trapping the spirits of the dead. And some people avoid the abandoned town for fear of sickness or death. Night comes fast, and soon the team is journeying through unfamiliar dirt roads, farther and farther from civilization, deeper into a growing darkness, as if something was trying to keep them away from what's buried in Armero. Could this be the first hints of the curse? The crew finally arrives, resting at a hotel for now, exhausted by the day's events, and looking ahead before taking their first steps into a city where the dead are underfoot everywhere you walk. The following evening, my crew arrives in the ruined city of Armero. They are shocked by how the jungle has reclaimed its once bustling streets. Outside Armero's cemetery, we meet Adilma and her son Edward, who are both survivors of the Armero tragedy. They are here to pay respects to their family members who have passed away and to visit the location of their former home. They agree to show us the cemetery. Armero was effectively buried by the flood caused by the eruption and then abandoned, leaving many of the thousands of victims still buried where they died. The entire ghost town is like a mass grave. It is hard to imagine what the two of them must feel every time they return here to honor their dead and preserve those memories. There are also physical dangers entering Armero's abandoned cemetery, which has been retaken by the jungle. It's so dangerous that our security doesn't want my team and the 2 survivors in there after dark.
Listo, información importante para todos. Vamos a estar en una zona donde podemos encontrar serpientes, caracoles venenosos y otro tipo de animales. Por lo tanto, siempre, 1, mantener las polainas todo el tiempo.
After night falls, boa constrictors and panthers can also come down from the trees. And my crew has to take care with their lights because night wasps will swarm them and sting their eyes. While they say that all of Armero has become one very large graveyard, the team wants to experience the original cemetery as well, where Adilma wishes to pay respects at the graves of her mother and grandmother. Adilma is also familiar with the curse, and my crew is shocked that she's willing to take the risk to return here regularly to tend to her relatives' graves.
But this was the main entrance, and this was where the masses were held every Monday.
Pero esto era antes de la tragedia.
Yes.
Nearly every single crypt at the cemetery in Armero has been desecrated. Locals claim thieves sell body parts from these actual graves for use in devil worship and witchcraft.
From these graves, they have stolen most everything.
This tomb here has been looted more than once. They started taking some remains, and they finally took the whole bodies.
Graves are desecrated and destroyed for the sake of dark magic and rituals. Even those who died before the day of the tragedy are disturbed from their rest by the ongoing horror of that day.
The first 6 months after the tragedy, the land was just getting settled. But before the 6 months were over, people came here to loot, to steal what was left in the houses.
Shattered caskets lie broken and rotting. Everywhere you turn, human remains are scattered about like forgotten memories. While some families had the money and means to relocate the remains of their relatives away from the overrun cemetery, most cannot, and their dead had been left unattended, desecrated by both time and the malicious intentions of trespassers.
This is where her mother's grave was, but it's so wild that they're not able to get in. I mean, we can get there, but like her mother's grave is farther, and it's like she wants to show us something here.
This is one of those snails that you can't touch.
Ah, okay. This is poisonous. You cannot touch this. This snail is very poisonous.
Just coming into contact with the slime of these giant snails can lead to a deadly brain infection.
I can't walk any further. It is that way, but there is no way to cross.
Okay, so it's farther, but there's no way to get there.
Imposible.
And here is clear, but we would need a machete or like something else to cut the trees and the...
It's not possible to open up a pathway.
The people of Armero lost more than the nearly 23,000 lives that ended on that day. The connection to their own past, their ancestry, was severed just as violently and swallowed up by the jungle. It's at this time I wonder if Adilma and Edward fear the curse of Armero, which is said to bring premature death to those who walk this soil.
She would love to take the rests of her mother to where her house was. Her kids are buried there because they died there.
This town gave me my children, it gave me a husband, it gave me life, and it also took away half of my life.
Adilma and Edward find their families' graves and begin to quickly clean them for fear of the fast approaching darkness. They clean as best they can to preserve the memories of innocence lost, trying not to think too long about the fact that only parts of their dead loved ones are buried here. Their bodies were defiled by scavenging animals in the days and weeks that followed, with only traces left behind to be mourned.
What remains are the memories of my children, of what was a house full of life, full of joy. Because in the midst of everything, my children gave me joy.
This is the only thing left in the house, the few walls that are visible. All of this in past years was full of crosses, and now you don't see them anymore. Like a constant war that we have here many times. Keeping the graves beautiful, keeping them in a nice shape so that when we come, we can recognize where our relatives are. We are surrounded by the dead.
While Adilma and Edward are fortunate enough to have located their families' graves, most other families can only locate their former homes.
Some families that survived come back here and place these like commemorative plaques, referring to their family, a legacy that they find represented in these walls.
Since they cannot live there again, it's like a way of, like a memorial of what was their house. Because as you see, the flood didn't came through this street.
But they still can't go on. They can't return to what was their home. Some of those plaques were placed over there because some weren't able to get their relatives' bodies out. They assume they are there, but it is not known.
Howard says that one time a very famous medium in Colombia came here, hoping to hear the disembodied voices and screams of the dead.
It is said that here in Armero, some people died unaware and now continue opening their businesses and walking around.
Dead people were doing what they were doing that day before the tragedy happened. She came to a grocery store and the doctor at the hospital even said like, "Hello, how are you? Welcome to Armero." Like the people were doing exactly the thing they were doing on that day.
I don't know whether it's the cycle of death or the cycle of a strange afterlife that continues with its timeline. But she believes that the souls still live here in Armero.
This photo is in the main park in Armero. This is my father, my two brothers, my sister, my mom, and me as a baby.
¿Qué pasó el día de la erupción?
My neighbor knocked on my door, told me, "Edilma, get out, get out. The avalanche came, the river came, the river overflowed." And the children told me, Mommy, I'm afraid." I said, "Don't talk, don't talk, don't talk." The mud started to go up. I was trapped because the bed folded, everything folded. I was up to here in mud. It got into my ears, but not in my mouth. I didn't feel my husband with me after. I didn't feel my little girl.
Waking up alone in the hours after the eruption, Edilma had to dig through what was left of her home. There she uncovered tiny bodies, violently twisted in the debris. It was already too late for two of her sons and her only daughter.
The girl's throat was slit. Her head has fallen off. Her little arms were already slipping out of my hand. I was stuck.
Like so many others who survived the horrific eruption, Edilma's life was still in danger, trapped in filthy mud with the risk of gangrene or death through starvation or exposure. Her and her husband's legs were pinned down by debris. He regained consciousness only long enough to say that he would rather die than lose his legs, before passing away beside her. Edilma had to take matters into her own hands for the sake of her remaining child.
I decided to pick up a piece of glass and to tie off this part of my leg. And I started to cut the leg to get out. The flesh was going down, it was going down.
This heroic act of self-preservation saved Edilma's life. Tragically, she and Edward were the only two survivors of the Loaiza family. Not all believe this was simply a natural disaster. Some believe it was a vengeful curse, born 40 years before the town was destroyed. In 1948, Pedro Maria Ramirez was a conservative Catholic priest serving Armero. He divided the town over politics and spoke out against liberals from the pulpit. During the lead-up to Colombia's 1949 presidential elections, the leading liberal candidate was assassinated. There were riots in the capital of Bogotá, and Ramirez was warned that he may be targeted for retribution in Armero. But according to journalist Howard Gutierrez, Ramirez refused to flee.
And he says, if that is God's law, then here I am going to die for his ideals, for the church, for God, for everything. He stayed, and here on the outskirts of Armero, they waited for him. they decapitate him. Some say that before he was beheaded, he said that no stone shall be left upon a stone in Armero.
Talk of Father Ramirez's curse spread across Colombia. 40 years later, Armero was destroyed, and the curse came back to haunt the recovering Adilma.
In Medellin, they took me to a nursing home. I arrived at that place, and the nun who was there in the psychiatric ward told me that I was crazy, that I didn't deserve anything because we had killed a priest. That everything that happened, all of it was a punishment from God. That it was a curse. We didn't understand about curses.
It is said that this is where the beheaded body of the priest was dragged tied to a horse, and they dragged him to be seen throughout Armero, and then leave him here, in the front of the church in this main square. Yes, he was left here.
I wonder if the murdered priest's blood that spewed from his body and saturated the ground of Armero as he was dragged through the streets is what ignited the curse. No stone shall be left upon a stone in Armero, he had said. While the priest's mutilated body was intended as a warning, his words ring out as an even starker threat, or perhaps as a promise. Words spoken decades before a mudslide tore so many of the stones from the side of the mountain, ripping through the center of the city, tearing through bodies as they went. Yet, strangely here, the center pulpit of the former church, the very place where Ramirez once stood, remains whole, untouched by the violent forces that tore the cathedral and the rest of the city apart. This is what remains of the church, precisely where it once stood, a piece of its tower still strangely intact. Was this too a part of his promise and threat? Howard claims the government knew for months that a catastrophic eruption would occur, but did nothing. In fact, many surrounding communities were evacuated in the hours before the mudslide. But that order never reached the citizens of Armero, who were urged to remain in their homes.
They did not want to have to evacuate more than 32,000 people living here in Armero and in other nearby municipalities.
So people was like having this information. So this is not gonna happen, or it's not dangerous at all, so don't worry about it.
Was this the priest's curse at work? The government response was delayed in the aftermath as well, leading to yet more death. In the morning after the disaster, the search for survivors led rescuers to 13-year-old Omaira Sanchez. She was pinned down by both debris and her dead aunt's lifeless arms, which were wrapped around her legs under the water.
They managed to discover that she's alive because she pulls her hand out, and the journalist manages to pull her afloat, but he could not hold her for long because if he let go, she would drown.
Attempts were made to free Omaira, but it was determined the only solution would be to amputate both her legs. Unfortunately, doctors lacked the necessary equipment to perform the operation.
Ay, quiero decir unas palabras. Mamá, si me escuchas, yo creo que sí. Reza para que yo pueda caminar y esta gente me ayude.
And as she clung to life, she began hallucinating that she was going to be late for an exam she had at school. In her final hours, her eyes turned pitch black as if the curse was consuming her. The mud that soaked up the murdered priest's blood was now holding her down, like a sacrifice. After being trapped for 3 days, Omaira died. She became the face of the Armero tragedy and is given saint-like respect.
She's a young girl who was symbolic of the tragedy worldwide.
So many innocents lost their lives in such a horrific fashion. Was this truly retribution and revenge for sins committed before many of them were even born? The nun who spoke to Adilma certainly thought so, but this kind of evil is almost beyond human comprehension. No stone shall be left upon a stone in Armero. But one of the rocks that tumbled through the town, carrying the dead and dying with it, does remain as a horrific sort of gravestone. The size of a house with witchcraft etched upon its surface.
This rock was rolling, and as soon as it came to like flat land, many people dead were there, no? So that's why after the tragedy, many different groups of people come here to this rock to do different rituals. Some like black magic, different types of rituals. The symbols that you can see at the rock are like symbols that these people can identify.
Well, this is the rock. Many bodies are down there because they cannot be removed. That is why this rock is used for witchcraft rituals, for black magic, as some call it. People come to inscribe on it. I'm not touching it. Something could happen.
¿Tú por qué no quieres tocar la roca?
Because it is believed in popular culture that the rock bears a death energy. Despite being a journalist, I try to avoid taking home that heavy energy from the rock and the cemetery. It's common to see these bondages and witchcraft stuff here.
Witch's Rock has so much energy that Howard refused to even touch it. Is this rock a battery used to power the evil forces that allegedly exists here now? Is that why it's become a beacon of evil for those who come here to practice black magic? My crew is meeting with a medium who believes so. She also believes the evil force in Armero may have taken over the abandoned hospital on the edge of town, and she is going to take us there. As my crew approaches the hospital, the police show up. They tell us we should leave. This is no longer a place for the living. But some fears are allayed after telling them we have a psychic medium here to protect everyone. The medium's name is Ida, and she's brought an investigator named Anderson with her. They've explored the ruined hospital at the edge of town before. They want to take my crew there now.
Este lugar, el hospital, es uno de los lugares donde lamentablemente murieron muchísimas personas. Este espacio que se ve acá, esa es la cuarta planta, tapado con lodo, con todo.
The patients who were trapped on the lower floors are still buried there to this day.
Entonces aquí el dolor está muy concentrado.
Let me get this straight. What floor is this?
Fourth.
For real?
Cuarto.
Fourth floor. Fourth floor.
My producer Joseph is astounded they are standing on the ground, level with the fourth floor, with bodies of patients entombed on the floors below ground.
Ya corroborado con personas de acá que quedaron vivas, y este era el cuarto piso, el que quedó a ras.
You can see a little bit of the third floor still, but first and second are under the earth.
During past investigations, Ida claims she's made contact with the spirit of a doctor that she hopes will speak with the team again tonight.
Before we go in, is there anything we should be concerned about?
Bueno, aquí yo generalmente, aunque ya he venido, como pedir permiso.
To be respectful for this place and like ask for permission, because a lot of people died here. There was a lot of suffering, and like this agony energy is very strong. Also because they use this place to do witchcraft and like these kind of things.
Mi cuerpo siente mucho las energías.
She will tell us whatever she's feeling at every moment.
Ida and Anderson enter the bat-infested hospital ruins. Ida will only allow a small number of my crew to enter with them in order to create the least amount of disturbance.
Acá la energía se va sintiendo pesadita, pero todavía no.
Es como si supieran que estamos aquí, pero no se acercan.
Anderson claims there is something dark residing in this hospital, something more than just the victims of the tragedy.
Unos minutos pude sentir algo, un hombre alto, pero es una presencia muy oscura, muy negativa. Es como si no los dejara trascender a ellos aquí.
Just by stepping foot in this place, you are exposing yourself. The first hint of this curse is feeling dizziness and ill.
Acá llegó alguien al lado mío, acá llegó alguien.
So she's feeling somebody next to her.
Yo siento, cuando yo empiezo a sentir esta opresión en el pecho y como si se me estuvieran acercando y ahí llega.
Se siente algo grande que está llegando.
Está al fondo.
Sí.
A mí ya me dijeron que está al fondo.
They can feel there's something very big, like a very strong energy at the end.
My crew dodges bats and trudges through piles of guano as they push deeper into the building.
Buenas noches. A los seres que nos escuchan, no queremos interrumpir su paz. Queremos acercarnos a ustedes para poder lograr un contacto espiritual. Sería un honor que alguno de ustedes se acercara a mí y me diera una señal clara de su presencia. ¿Podrías indicarme dónde estás?
¿Tú falleciste en este lugar? Dice, no.
En ese salón siento una vibración demasiado elevada. Es una sensación oscura.
Deeper and deeper into the crumbling remains of this hospital, Anderson and Ida both feel something calling out to them, a presence they describe as tall and dark, somewhere in the distance.
Acá se siente muy pesada la energía, muy pesada.
Over here, there were like surgery rooms, and they can feel a very, very, very strong energy. Anderson says like they are surrounding us.
Están es como con curiosidad.
Están curiosos, sí, se sienten atraídos por las luces. Para ellos no es normal ese tipo de visitas en estos campus. Normalmente, cuando ingresamos a estos lugares, no lo hacemos con equipos, lo hacemos simplemente con nuestra energía.
Anderson believes the hospital is not just inhabited by the spirits of people who have died tragically, but also by beings who have walked the earth for centuries. He describes these as demons.
Acá hay una energía que ya se ha manifestado y es el doctor que yo te digo, el hombre alto.
The doctor she was talking about, she has met him a couple of times and now she has met him again.
¿Quieres que te ayudemos?
Do you want us to help you?
No.
He said no.
Wow. Las dividió.
Okay, so Aida is feeling this person wants to take my energy. So that's why the bats, the animals are also, it's like affecting the animals as well. That's what's happening. So this high energy.
Se salió, se vino detrás. Mira, acá va conmigo.
So he went out and he's coming with me still.
Es que está aquí, está molesto. Esta energía no es una energía de aquí, esta energía es una entidad. Dice que sí.
This energy is not energy from here, it's like an entity.
It's a demon.
It's like kind of a demon.
Es una entidad muy grande que intentó atravesarme y como comunicarse a través de mí no le permití. Entonces acá es la energía que está.
Al fondo, mira lo que hay allá. Allá.
Suddenly, Anderson spots movement in the next room.
Se vino para acá. Puch, ¿toca qué?
Aquí lo siento. Uf,
acá.
Tengo la piel erizada en este momento. Uf.
Pero acá me ahoga a mí. Acá.
Espíritu.
Without warning, Ida becomes affected after chasing the shadow Anderson saw in this room.
¿Sientes bien?
No, estoy mareada.
Se siente una sensación extraña aquí.
She's feeling like she wants to throw up. The energy is very, very strong.
Es como si algo absorbiera la energía de un momento a otro.
Es como que quiere hablar a través de mí, pero yo no le quiero permitir, pero sí está intentando.
Normalmente las personas cuando mueren no causan ese tipo de sensación. Esto es una energía mucho mayor.
This doesn't sound like the presence of a friendly doctor Ida had interacted with before. And if the two of them are right, the entity trying to drain Ida's energy may be demonic and ancient, predating Armero itself by centuries.
Increíble lo que se siente. Se percibe sensaciones de personas. Sí, estos son personas.
Aquí mira.
Aquí buscan luz.
Que hay muchas personas que están diciendo que las ayuden.
Many people asking for help. It's a lighter energy, but you can still feel their suffering.
Aquí están. ¿Necesitan ayuda? ¿Es a mí la energía?
Está súper pesada aquí. Pero es una sensación de muchas almas, porque ese ser oscuro no las deja ni siquiera estar en su propio lugar, no las deja recorrer todo este hospital. Entonces buscan algunos rincones para poder quedarse en esos lugares.
Sí.
Anderson and Ida keep moving as though directed by an unseen force, drawn further away from the rest of the group.
Ya. Acá es la entrada allí.
No nos separemos, chicos, por favor. Hey.
Mamá.
Ahí, acuérdate de la culebra. Tengan cuidado, por favor.
And now separating themselves completely in a building filled with hazards.
Uy, escuché algo.
Aquí se escucha un murmullo fuerte. ¿Y aquí cómo me meto?
¿Cuántos espíritus hay en este lugar?
Acá hay muchas energías, no están contentos de que estemos aquí. Está molesto, no quiere que estemos aquí.
He's very upset. He doesn't want us to be here.
Está agresivo. La energía está agresiva. Quiere que nos vayamos de aquí.
The danger is growing.
Sí, se siente que está detrás de nosotros.
Our translator has no paranormal experience, and the two more experienced investigators believe there is an ever-increasing danger and aggression, which would only put someone like her at risk.
Vamos a retirar de este lugar. Sabemos que es tu casa. Sabemos que este lugar no nos pertenece.
They feel there's no choice but to halt the investigation.
Pero gracias por tu manifestación. Prometo volver. Cuando nos acercamos a estos campos y encontramos espíritus oscuros, espíritus del bajo astral, lo más común es siempre dejar una ofrenda, pero en esta oportunidad, como es una investigación, es muy normal que ese tipo de energías siempre manifiesten disgustos.
Ida has asked if the entity they have encountered is the doctor or someone else.
No, el médico habló y sigue aquí. Dice que él no se puede ir porque tiene que ayudar a toda la gente. La otra es una entidad que está en este lugar.
Anderson believes there is something here at the Armero Hospital that can only be categorized as demonic. That demands obedience and fear. Was it summoned here by the death, the violence, or even the curse? Or is it the central cause of all of it? 80 years ago, the body of a priest was dragged through the streets of Armero. 40 years later, those same streets were filled with rushing water and the screams of so many dying. Another 40 years, the darkness here reaches out to try to connect with the investigators, to drain our team's equipment, maybe even to interfere with the ability to travel to Armero at all. But to what end? The truth is almost too terrible to comprehend. Father Ramirez's curse still present in Armero? And was it demonstrating its power to my crew? It's hard to believe this was merely a coincidence.